Okay, if you were anywhere near a radio in the early 2000s, you absolutely know Puddle of Mudd. Their sound, that mix of heavy guitar, angsty lyrics, and those hooks you just couldn't forget, it was everywhere. They were, without a doubt, the sound of a moment. But behind that sound is a story you probably haven't heard. It involves a fake backstage pass, a giant corporate machine, and, well, the perfect formula for a hit. So let's dive in. Right. So, what if I told you that their massive success wasn't just about a guy with a guitar and a dream? What if it was also the story of a system, a machine, really, that was perfectly designed to create a hit song? In this explainer, we're going to pull back that curtain and see how it all really happened. To really get Puddle of Mudd, you first have to understand the world they walked into. So picture this. The year is 2001, and the rock landscape is completely dominated by a very, very specific sound. And that sound was post-grunge. So what does that even mean, post-grunge? Well, think heavy, distorted guitar riffs that kind of remind you of grunge, but everything's got this cleaner, more polished, big-budget production value. The lyrics were just full of angst, but the choruses, oh, the choruses were massive, super catchy, and basically engineered to be played on the radio. This was the musical climate that was just waiting for a band exactly like them. Every band needs a big break, right? Well, Puddle of Mudd's is the stuff of legend. Seriously, it's a story that starts with the band nearly collapsing and ends with a total Hail Mary pass to one of the biggest names in music at the time. So let's rewind for a second. The band gets together back in '92 in Kansas City, and they name themselves after their practice space, which was always getting flooded. Classic. They grind it out for years. They even put out an indie album, but by 1999, it's over. The band just breaks up. And the frontman, Wes Scantlin, is left basically all by himself, just holding a demo tape and a dream that's fading really, really fast. And this is where the story gets cinematic. Scantlin, with absolutely nothing left to lose, pulls off this incredibly bold move. He gets his demo tape into the hands of a security guard for Fred Durst, the frontman of Limp Bizkit, who was basically the king of the rock world at that moment. The odds of that tape ever even being heard were like 1,000,000 to 1. But it was heard. Not only did Durst listen, he actually called Scantlin and flew him out to California. But here's the crazy twist. Durst told him to ditch the old band and just start over. So a completely new Puddle of Mudd was built from the ground up in LA, with Scantlin at the center, and they get signed to Durst's label, Flawless Records. Just like that. So now, with a new lineup and major label backing, the band released their debut album, Come Clean, on August 28, 2001. And it didn't just do well, it became an absolute monster, a juggernaut. Just look at this number. Over 5 million copies sold in the US alone. That is a staggering, mind-blowing level of success. The album went triple platinum and turned Puddle of Mudd from a band nobody knew into household names practically overnight. And the hits started rolling out immediately. First up was Control, a hard-charging rock anthem that got this massive boost when it became the theme song for a huge WWE pay-per-view event. That put them squarely on the map. Then came the big one, Blurry. This song was inescapable. You couldn't get away from it. It crossed over from rock radio to pop radio, climbing all the way to number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. To this day, it is the song that defines their entire career. And they weren't done. She Hates Me, with its almost nursery rhyme sing-along chorus, became another monster hit. It shot straight to number 1 on the rock charts and completely cemented their place as superstars of that era. And the story behind that song is just as memorable as the chorus itself. It came from a very real, very raw moment. According to Scantlin, he came home late one night. His girlfriend banished him to the floor. And right there, in that moment of pure frustration, he scribbled down that iconic chorus. So you've got this incredible story, right? A desperate demo tape, a lucky break, and a whole string of massive hits written from real-life frustration. It's the perfect rock and roll narrative. But if you zoom out from the band for a second and you look at the entire music world in 2001, a different picture starts to emerge. A picture that makes you ask, was this success all talent and luck, or was it actually the result of the perfect formula? Let's pull the camera back a little and look at the industry itself. Because the early 2000s wasn't just a unique time for music, it was a really unique time for the business of music, which was becoming more consolidated and more calculated than ever before. To understand this, we need to know this one key concept. the culture industry. It's an idea from some cultural theorists that basically says popular art, including music, isn't just created, it's manufactured. It's standardized and packaged for us to consume, just like any other product coming off an assembly line. So how did this hit-making assembly line get so powerful? Well, it all comes back to a single piece of legislation. In 1996, the government passed the Telecommunications Act, which completely changed the rules of media ownership. The goal, they said, was more competition. But the reality, well, as you can see on the timeline, it sparked the exact opposite, a feeding frenzy of mergers that put nearly all of American media into the hands of just a few giant corporations. And here's what that looked like. By the time Puddle of Mudd hit the scene, the global music market had become what's called an oligopoly. As the academic Martin Scherzinger points out, just a handful of these massive conglomerates controlled between 80 and 90% of all recorded music. That meant less risk, less diversity, and way more focus on proven, repeatable formulas. And nowhere was this more obvious than on the radio. Just look at the insane growth of this one company, Clear Channel. Thanks to all that deregulation, they went from owning 40 stations to over 1,200 in just 7 years. This allowed them to create these homogenized, nationwide playlists, making sure that if a song was a hit in one city, you better believe it was going to be a hit in every city. So here's the crucial point. Critics started to connect the dots. In 2005, Scherzinger explicitly named Puddle of Mudd right alongside bands like Creed and Nickelback as products of this very system, bands whose sound was perfectly suited for and amplified by a consolidated corporate media machine that favored, quote, drab, diluted, and standardized rock. This leaves us with two completely different ways to look at a band like Puddle of Mudd. So is their story one of authentic artistry, or is it one of a carefully crafted corporate strategy? Let's break it down. Okay, so on one side, you have the artist narrative. Wes Scantlin talks about connecting with people, writing songs that help them through tough times, and creating something real. It's all about genuine emotion and shared experience. But on the other side, you have the critic's narrative, which sees that same success as the result of a system designed to minimize risk by pushing a proven, marketable sound to the widest possible audience. So which one is it? Is Puddle of Mudd the last gasp of an authentic rock movement that left behind an enduring legacy of hits? Or were they simply the perfect product at the perfect time, manufactured for a system that was ready and waiting for them? The truth, as it usually is probably somewhere in the middle. But it's a question that really makes you rethink every hit song we've ever heard, doesn't it?